So thank you all so much. First and foremost, thank you to our presenters this evening for joining us for this webinar on distanced rehearsals and auditions. My name is Laura Kruschke. I live in Madison, Wisconsin. I am the director of Greentone Acapella. Greentone was one of the first 9 groups that helped form CAL back in 2007. I'm now the president of CAL, and I am your MC for the evening, if you will. All right, so we're going to begin tonight, excuse me, by featuring the Tar Heel Voices, and they are UNC's oldest a cappella group. And joining us from the Tar Heels tonight is first Nicholas Batman, who is a senior at UNC studying public policy and philosophy with a concentration in global health. Can you wave? Nick, can you wave? Yeah, there he is. What's up? And he currently serves as the president of Tar Heel Voices. And along with him, we have Maria Cade. Maria, did I say your last name correctly? Yeah? Okay, good. Good. That's important to me because everybody murders my last name. And I technically have 2 of them, but you just see one, and that's enough for everybody. So Maria is a senior also at UNC. She is studying broadcast journalism and vocal performance. She is a member, of course, of Tar Heel Voices, where she acts as the treasurer, as well as the group's ICCA coordinator, which, I don't know, as a total side note and not related to tonight's event, I'm curious how that is impacted by this year's varsity vocals, but I can maybe bend your ear on that some other time. So with that all said, the next 15 minutes or so, we are excited to hear from the 2 of you. Make sure you are both unmuted. Anybody else, we just ask that you kindly keep your microphones muted so that we eliminate background noise. And Nick and Maria, the floor is all yours. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having us. Really excited to be here. It was lots of fun to talk to TK about all of this and the audition process a few weeks back, and really excited to talk about it again. But yeah, so, I mean, as you know, college a cappella auditions are certainly a busy process. Generally, THV sees about, like on a good year, over 100 people every cycle. We see them in person. We go through our first round auditions. We go through our callback round auditions all in person. It's really important that we hear their blend, we hear their solo, we get to know them. Like, it's a very intimate process, and it's really important for us to determine who's going to be in our family. And I'm sure that all of you share the same experience in choosing members for your group. And so over the summer, we knew that this was going to be really difficult in trying to pivot and figure out what to do. And so I think we're really excited to talk about what our initial plan was, and how that we had to change that even further, and how our digital audition process ultimately worked. But yeah, so starting with our initial plan coming into the summer, we made like several different scenarios to look into what different possibilities could happen, whether the university was going to be entirely closed, whether we were going to have an entirely online semester, what all these different things would look like, and how we would adapt to the situation. But ultimately, we started out with a completely outdoor, masks on, socially distant, like 12 feet apart audition process. Where we would never get too close to any auditionees, and we would whittle down that number by having like a video submission for the first round. So for the very first round of auditions, we gave people about 2 to 3 weeks to submit a video of them singing a clip of a solo, and optional scale test just to test their range. Super simple, super basic, and it worked out really well. And we got a lot of submissions pretty quickly, but we hit a pretty rough patch. It's basically in the first week of classes where they sent everybody home. Everybody on campus went home in our first week, and that was in the middle of our audition cycle. So we were just sitting there very sad, figuring out what to do at that point. So we had to get all the 10 a cappella groups on our campus together, as we were kind of spearheading this whole audition portal process, and basically create entirely new process in the matter of a few days. And Maria, if you want to talk about all the things that we had to change last second.
Yeah, so like Nick said, we were originally going to do 2 rounds of callbacks, and the first round would be kind of like a preliminary first audition of sorts, just so we could get to hear them sing in person, because obviously the first round was like a pre-screened version. And then the second round would have been like a final callback, as we would have normally done in a regular audition season. So then we had to shift to virtual. And we normally ask all of the auditionees to sing one song for their regular audition and then another song for their callback. So we asked the auditionees that made it to the first round of callbacks to record a second song for us. And then they also had to do some musical tests. So this involved different pitch matching skills and also harmonies, different things like that, just so we could test their musical ability and fluency. And then in addition to that, we were able to meet with them and chat with them as sort of like a cute little interview process, just so that we can get to know them better. And then ultimately we had a final round callback, which resulted in the final round callback people. They had to record themselves singing one of the lines of one of our songs. And then we were able to actually have all the recordings of the current members and stick them in to see how well they would blend with us, see if their vowel formations, everything, how that matched up. So it was really cool and a different way that we were able to test the blend of these new people that were auditioning to get into the group.
And yeah, so like a massive part of that was really building out this portal that we had, and it became just the center hub for all of our auditions. It was a Google form, so it was super basic. We made an entirely different Gmail account just for auditions. And so there was a form where people could put their name, basic information, groups that they were interested in or wanted to audition for, musical experience, former groups that they were a part of, just everything. And then they could submit their materials, their videos, their submission, and everything. And that ultimately fed out to a giant spreadsheet that we had all of our auditionees in front of us. We could quickly make notes within our group on that doc and kind of use that as a whiteboard of sorts to look through the auditionees that we had and kind of work through that. And obviously it had its problems, as you'd expect. One of the biggest things for our group is blend. That's so important for us. It's so important in choosing our new members. And that was like the one thing that kind of had to go, even though we had this really cool, we used, I think it was it Adobe or was it GarageBand? Yeah, so we used GarageBand to just plug these audio files that they sent us for our blend and listen to them with the rest of our group. And that was great, but it takes out a key element of you have to listen. Like, big part of blend obviously is using your ear and listening to the people around you and building off of that, right? And so they couldn't do that. So we kind of had to use intuition at that point to be like, okay, at least they were following on, at least they kind of understood the pace of the music. So that's one thing that we had to sacrifice, but I think we replaced that with making sure that we were able to get other metrics, like how well they were able to repeat different melodies, how well they were able to pick notes out of a chord and kind of hear that, how well they were able to stay in rhythm, stay on pitch. So with all these different exercises that Maria talked about. So we ended up having to create a bunch of different audio files that guided people, a bunch of different like tools and mechanics that we were able to send out to our auditionees. So we sent them out a big email that was like, here are all the things that we need from you. But after we kind of got our feet set after the first few days, it was a really easy process, really convenient. And the other little thing that we added was while they were sending us these clips of them singing their next solos or their audio files, their blend, etc., we got to meet with them a little bit. We kind of had like a Zoom meet and greet room. So we would set about like 2.5 hours for our day. And they would sign up for slots. They would join us. We'd talk for like 10 to 15 minutes just about who they are, what they're interested in, kind of see how we get to know each other a little bit. And then after that, they would leave. And that was just like kind of a test, not a test, but it let them kind of test out who we were and see if they liked us at all. And honestly, we tried our best to preserve the normalcy of an audition process. And I think that we did a pretty good job. Ultimately, we got to hear a lot from a lot of people. We still got a pretty good idea of who we were seeing, and they got to know us pretty intimately, which was nice. But yeah, I'd say it was a good process overall. But yeah, we're open to answering any questions about it. It was kind of difficult to put together, and also we're very happy to share all of our materials and show what that Google form looks like, how just like we organized everything. But yeah.
Well, that would be great. I think as a way to illustrate what you both have just described, I think that would be excellent. Um, so I mean, now after this audition process has been completed, like where can you speak to the success that it has set you up for this year, being as weird as this school year is? Like, can the two of you speak a little bit um, to what happens next as you head into the kind of the middle of the school year? And I mean, not knowing what's going to happen in the spring, like, can either of you talk, or actually, I'd love to hear both of you and your thoughts on um, what you are planning for the future. And maybe this is where, Maria, the ICCA piece does actually come in. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I can start with just like the first bit, and then Maria can take over with ICCAs.
Yeah,
but
great.
I mean, as we were realizing that the audition process was taking a lot of effort, we took 5 absolutely incredible members. If you want to see how incredible they are, we posted their actual audition videos on our Instagram,
Cool.
UNC_THV, and that's the thing that they sent to us. That's the first that we had ever heard of them, and they're incredible. I think we were having a great time that night when we were getting our final picks. But yeah, I think after we took them, we kind of pushed the brakes for a little bit for like a week or so and actually put our feet down to understand, yeah, what is next? And I don't really think many groups have a good idea of that. We outright have canceled any in-person rehearsals. We tried to do one outdoor, socially distant, masks on rehearsal, and it didn't work. And also, we're at a college campus. If anybody's seen the news, UNC has been a pretty volatile community for COVID. So we just didn't want to risk it more than we needed to. So we pulled the plug on in-person rehearsals. We pulled the plug on our concert. We pulled the plug on any ideas of gigs. All of that is just common sense and safe.
Of course.
But what we've kind of fallen into is this cool idea of, we're still doing the traditional, I guess, what's becoming standard now, virtual choirs, Zoom on videos. We're editing those, making them ourselves, posting them online, sharing the songs that our group has arranged, and kind of having like a standard, like, here's a piece that we've made, here's us presenting it to the community. So that's one thing that we started to work on. The second thing is that we are trying to produce our next EP. This seems like as good a time as any, and Liquid Fifth, which is right next door to us, does an amazing job in keeping their own recording studio safe and clean, and they have a really good procedure for us. And so we're really excited to work with them again in producing that. So this EP has become a huge project of ours. And lastly, we started to realize that we didn't start to realize, but we have a lot of talent in our group. A lot of people do a lot of different things. There's a lot of different ideas for small side projects that aren't just conventional a cappella. So right now we've split our group into several different teams of anywhere ranging from like 3 people all the way up to like half the group, to just do separate projects like trios, duets, instrumental projects, beatboxing competitions, just like cool little packages and Easter eggs of things that our group has to offer, ways that we can be creative, ways that we can be innovative with our sound. And it gives our members just a lot of different avenues to explore what they're interested in the group, what they're interested in for the group. And so we've been working on a lot of those concurrently. I think we have like a member that literally just came in as a new member is arranging his first piece, and he's going to do work with that and getting bunch of people to work on that with him and create a video about it. We have another group of girls in our group that's doing a rendition of a song from Hamilton, which is just like a big belty badass collaboration. And just a bunch of other things. And we're going to keep doing that through the year. But that's kind of I think that's going to be the new normal for us, is in the absence of concert, in the absence of gigs, we're going to use our social media and use our new tools to create things that are a little simpler, but still explore a bunch of different projects, ideas, and creativity. And Maria, if you want to talk about the competition scene.
Yeah. So just before I talk about CAs, one of the really great things and one of the positives that since we are online is, like Nick said, we are able to kind of hone these editing, recording, and mixing skills that not many of our members had possessed before. So we recently did a workshop with one of our members who is like really well versed in audio and video editing, and she was able to teach all the members how to record our own music and mix it so that it sounds pretty professional, pretty good. So that's some things, we're all gaining new skills during this time, both musically and otherwise, that we'll be able to take after hopefully the pandemic ends. So as far as ICCAs goes, it's going to be a lot different this year. It's all online, and basically in a normal year, it's about a 10-minute set. You could do multiple songs, choreography, everything under the umbrella of music is, you know, valid for ICCAs. But this year it's actually just a 5-minute video, and you could do anything you want. You could do multiple songs, one song, whatever you want, but it all has to be edited and recorded within the group. So we really have kind of a wide range of different things that we're considering right now for ICCAs, which is really exciting. Like I said, a lot of our members are really well versed in creativity, whether that be in film or whether that be in dance. So we're excited to kind of branch out of the normal Zoom a cappella virtual choir, which I think most groups would be considering for ICCAs. And since we have free range for this competition, we're looking to kind of expand that and see, you know, what can we do socially distant? How can we make this music? How can we be creative? And how can we really demonstrate our talent during this time and our passion for music together to the judges and everyone who's going to be watching the competition? So that's something really exciting that we have looking forward to for this spring semester.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you both so much for sharing this process. And I mean, I guess I just want to close for the two of you by saying I'm so blown away by the amount of engagement that you have all clearly put into this first month or so of the school year, and like reinventing your own wheel and making this an engaging opportunity, not only for your new people, but for the people who've stayed in the group. Like, I'm blown away. I think that's really excellent. And we need to see that kind of engagement, because a lot of us feel really, really disengaged. So bravo to both of you and to the rest of your group. And I just wanted to add onto that, I put a little note in the chat, but if any of you have questions throughout the rest of tonight's event, please put them in the chat. Just a reminder, and we will field all those at the end after our last presenter is shared. So, so thank you, Nick and Maria. We are going to move on to Somerset Hills Harmony, and we have Don here. Don, make sure you are unmuted. There we go. And Don is here from Somerset Hills Harmony. And Somerset Hills Harmony is an a cappella chorus in central northern New Jersey, with choir members from many singing backgrounds that include collegiate a cappella, barbershop, and classical. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself, Don, and tell us anything else about Somerset Hills. And we are especially excited to hear about how you have been able to rehearse with your group. I'm deeply fascinated by this process, the little that I've heard.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks. Well, I'll give you the 30-second on who I am and who we are. As you can see, I'm not in college anymore, but my wife and I, we met at Cornell and we co-directed an a cappella group there, and then we've been singing off and on ever since. But I joined a group that was in the Barbershop Harmony Society that went co-ed in 2019, and we have grown from 13 guys to over 40 men and women. We grew in about 15 months when COVID hit, and then we were saying, uh-oh, what do we do now? And so we have we've put together a three-pronged approach, which I will share with you at the end of this presentation. But amazingly enough, we have grown during this period of time when other groups are having challenges just to hang on. You know, we don't have people like Nick and Maria, where everybody's they have 100 people looking to join, and everybody's trying to figure out what can we do. Our average age is probably about 50. So teaching people how to use this technology and getting them to do stuff, it's not a given. So it's been a fun exercise. But we have stumbled across something that works, and I'd like to share it with you now. So I'm going to share my screen. And let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see it. I think we're good.
Okay, good. So the way this happened is that when COVID hit, of course, we went to the Zoom meetings and we started doing some virtual stuff, but we all missed the live rehearsing. And there's a guy named Bryce Denny up in Boston, Massachusetts, that created some technology who figured out how for his church choir to do a live sing setting. So we saw that and said, well, maybe we can do that. And we've created our version, which we call Hot Rods in Harmony. So are you able to see, did the screen just change just to make sure everybody's able to see it? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, I know that
Well,
guy in the front.
yes, that's Andrew Millen.
That's Andrew. Yep.
And I took this picture, so I'm not in it, but my wife, Chris, the EVP of Somerset Hills, is second from the left. So yeah, we were able to do this 7 months ago, and now we can't. So what are people able to do now? Well, as you heard from North Carolina, you can try outdoor rehearsals with or without masks and with social distancing. It has, is it better than nothing? That's debatable. Indoor rehearsals in masks with precautions. Also, it's a little scary, and people are trying to still figure that out. Online, there's an active Facebook group on Jamulus, Jamkazem. We're gonna hear from JackTrip later. Obviously you can't do it in Zoom. If you have the money to pay for a sound studio like our friends from GQ have, that's nice. You can keep recording. Or of course, you can do something like with the Cappella app, as our friends here, the grand piano lifters, are doing, and keep going. But at the end of the day, you're still missing the live thing. So here's basically how this works in a nutshell. Is that there are people singing in cars attached to a mixing board, which has an FM transmitter, which goes back to the people. And I will take you through the steps here. So our first attempt at this, we had 6 singers and a bunch of cars, some people in cars, some people outside of cars. You can see that 2 of us are wearing headsets, and we're married, so being close to each other isn't a problem, and it worked. So then we went from 6 people to 11 people, still in cars, and it worked again. And then we've expanded it now to 24 people. And you can see that we're sitting in the parking lot of a church. That our director is on the stairs there. And we are able to have a live rehearsal with that. So we've even had our brother group, because they're all guys, they actually had a live performance for this for some folks who were celebrating their 60th anniversary, and we're in an assisted living place. And so they pulled up a bunch of cars and broadcast their concert over the FM so that this couple were able to hear it. So an a cappella concert has been done using this technology. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about how it works. So first thing you have to do is you have to get the sound from the singers. So we have people in cars, but you could have people spread out enough to be safe with a microphone. Imagine you could put people out on a football field, everybody spread 15 or 20 yards apart, not a problem, and safe, but we do it in the cars. And because we have a lot of people in the cars, everybody's microphone connects into a junction board there, which then with a snake goes to the mixing board, so you don't have 9,000 cables all over the place. But if you had a small group, let's say 6 or 8 people or 10 people, you could run the microphone cables right into the mixing board. Also, in a smaller group, you may not have a director. You may just all be able to sing together, and that's fine, although you may want to have one person step outside of the car to provide the visual cues. So then, so what does it all go into? Well, it depends on how much money you want to spend. That thing down at the bottom there, it's analog. You could probably pick one up on eBay or Facebook Marketplace or whatever for $100. The one at the top, that's that you can pick up used for about $1,200 or $1,300. So it just depends on what you're planning on doing with it. The top one will record everybody, so you can make a virtual recording while you are rehearsing. The bottom one is just for singing. So how much money do you want to spend, and what features do you want? But you can do everything you need to do on the cheap. So okay, so now you've gotten into the mixing board. Now how do you get it back to the singers? Well, the mixing board, the output of the mixing board is an FM transmitter. And then that FM transmitter goes back to either into the cars or to headphones that people are wearing. And most cars, you can make it so that the car rate, if you put the fader in the front of the car and you have your microphone facing towards you, like the picture at the bottom right, then you will not pick up any feedback. It'll work perfectly. If you do what the guy at the top right is doing, you're going to have a problem, because these mics are directional and that will pick up the radio. So you do what bottom right or middle, but not top, and it will work in a car and it will work fine. If you're outside of the car, then you need a set of FM receiver headphones or an FM receiver tied to a set of earbuds, and that will do it. I should mention that most cars, it works fine. If you have a Subaru, it doesn't, and then you have to use the headphones in your Subaru. Okay, so that gets it all back. And the beauty of this is that there is zero latency, and I mean zero. I mean, if it's a few milliseconds, we can't tell. Okay, I mean, you sing and you hear it simultaneously. It is live. Okay. Now, we do have to be concerned about safety. If you're parking cars near each other, you can only have one side window open, right? Because, or if somebody steps out of a car, they have to be far enough away. If you have a director, they have to be far enough away. But if you have somebody who is completely, maybe they're immunocompromised or whatever, wants to stay in their car, they never have to get out of that car. They can stay in there and sing the whole time and then leave. And the only thing that you have to do is they have to pass their cable. They have their own microphone, their own cable, they pass it out, and somebody outside wearing a mask plugs it in, and it gets the mixing board, and it works fine. If somebody steps out of their car, obviously they have to be a good distance from everybody else. And we would encourage you, if you're gonna do this, this isn't what you should do, this is what we're doing. You need to make your own decision based on what your people are comfortable with and scientific guidance. I'm gonna make this whole presentation available. We'll email it in, you can take it. I suggest that maybe you link on some of these, on some of these things, but the idea is that if you are sitting in your car, you should be just as safe as if you're ordering from the drive-thru. Okay. So I'm going to skip through this. As I said, I would, you can go through this at your leisure. It is important, though, even though people are sitting in their cars a very distance, that you should have some kind of mechanism for making sure that people have done a self-health check. You don't want anybody showing up who's just tested positive in the last few days and think that that's fine. So that is an important part of anything that you do, and we do that before anybody shows up. Because at the end of the day, this is a hobby for all of us, and so you do have to be on your guard to make sure that everything's fine. The other thing you do have to make sure that you're careful of, and Laura, if you're in Madison, Wisconsin, this is going to become an issue for you pretty soon, is that as it gets cold, you do have to limit the amount of time that you're running your car, because most states have idling laws.
Totally.
So you do have to watch that. So you probably, if you're in Madison in January, you're probably not doing this, but we plan on doing this all the way through into December in New Jersey. Okay, it will work if you set it up properly. with the mixing board, sheltered from the elements. You can still do this if there's a light rain. Obviously, if there's a tropical storm, that's not happening. If it's cold, as long as you wear a coat in your car, you're fine. And you'll be able to do it down to the point where you're going to start to fog up the windows and you can't see out. Or if you're in the south, if it gets too hot. Now, I do want to stress that this is part of a multifaceted approach. This drive-in technology is not meant to be the be-all and end-all. So in Somerset Hills Harmony, we have our social and educational aspect. We do that over Zoom every other week. We have our virtual, and we have shared our most recent virtual experience into the Cal Facebook group. We did Joy to the World by Three Dog Night, and I did learn how to become a sound mixer and a video mixer, just like Maria was saying, and it's now a new skill that I have. And then the drive-in is the third. And if you put all three of those together in one cohesive program, you'll have something. And the best part of this is we're going to give live concerts. We have one concert definitely scheduled for December and the holidays, and we have a second concert tentatively scheduled. We will put a couple of dozen cars in the front row, and we will invite a couple of hundred cars to join us, all tune in their FM radios, and hear a couple of holiday songs. We'll even play some sing-along stuff through the mixing board and create a half an hour, 40-minute experience for the people in the town at a time when they're really going to need it. So even if you think that this is just a bunch of people in cars singing, think about what you can mean to people who are used to going out and socializing and doing things during the holidays. If you get this going now, you can have something ready for December, and believe me, you will be loved in your town when you do this. Okay, so what I'd like to close with on this is just a quick mention of, well, what does it sound like when you are sitting in this environment? In this environment, what does it sound like? Well, you take a lot of things for granted when you're performing live. You hear the person next to you singing, and if they're on your part, they're louder than the others. Or even if you're singing where everybody's singing a different part, you're probably standing next to somebody where your part fits with theirs. When you're singing like this, you hear everything simultaneously. So you need to be 100% confident on your notes, and you need to be you need to be confident on your timing. You don't have to be perfect on things like pitch waiver, because if you have a decent mixing board, a person may be able to put in a little reverb. You can even put in some auto-tune. But being able to sing with without the cues of the person standing next to you singing, feeling them breathe or whatever it is a new experience. And that's why you probably want to take one person out of the car and give the visual cues for everybody else to be able to see. So that is a 2-hour presentation in 15 minutes. As I said, there are plenty of pages of appendix on this. There's a lot of technical stuff. And like I said, I will email the full PDF to TK when this is over so that it can be distributed. And of course, you can get a hold of me. My email is it's president@shhchorus.org. Or you can come to our website and contact us that way. So that's what I have. And I'm sure there'll be questions at the end.
Yes, for anybody who has questions, again, just another quick reminder, put your questions in the chat. Don, thank you so much. Like I'm blown away, and you made a huge impression on me in particular about the whole idea of singing holiday music, because my group sings a lot of holiday music. We usually start in July. We're all sorely missing each other right now, not getting to sing any of our holiday tunes. So I'm feeling renewed inspiration to try and get us together for what is usually the busiest part of our year. And I'm fascinated. It's great.
Well,
I love the idea of a big group of cars giving a concert. That just, I don't know. I think that's awesome.
It is, and the best part, it works. I mean, it really.
Obviously, that's just fantastic. Really fantastic.
All right.
Well,
Baton
thank you.
pass to the next
Thank you
person.
so much. All right,
right.
so we're gonna move on to our final presenter. They jumped in at the last, at the, you know, the 11th hour, if you will, and we're so glad to have both of them. They, joining us tonight is Cynthia Payne and Bonnie Kwong from the JackTrip servers. Cynthia began using JackTrip, excuse me, around 2005 when she was a grad student at UC Santa Cruz. After years of JackTrip collaborations, she is very happy to continue this work as a freelance and volunteer support agent with the newly formed JackTrip Foundation. And you can find out more information about the JackTrip Foundation at JackTrip, just as it sounds.org, and I'll put that in the chat in just a moment. And she's also shared her email address, so I'll add that to the chat as well. And then Bonnie, her affiliation is with Stanford University and began singing with Leary Rope. Am I saying that right? No.
Oh, no, staging. Liriope. I wrote and
Liriope, thank you. Yes, thank you. I didn't know how to say it.
Yeah, it's a Greek mythical character,
Liriope.
mother of Narcissus.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so she staged a play that she staged at the university's Jasper Ridge Biological Preserve with, can you say Chris, is it Chafe? Yep, thank you, as music director. She's now working with Chris Chafe on the engineering and leadership side of the JackTrip project, including the organization of a series of meetings at CCRMA around JackTrip, and we'll include that that URL in the chat as well. So Bonnie and Cynthia, thank you so much for being here with us, and we are just excited to hear about another facet of how we can feel less distanced in this pandemic season.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We really are excited to share this with you. You're not alone. There's lots and lots of singers out there who want to learn how or figure out how they can sing together over the internet without latency. And, you know, Don and his group have figured out that doing it in cars is a great way to do it. And I have to applaud you for that ingenuity. It's zero latency. Now that really is impressive. We strive for that, but unfortunately over the internet there's the you know, speed of sound, speed of light, physics kind of stuff that gets in the way. But we're trying very hard to do that. And I also wanted to applaud UNC for shifting gears and, you know, altering what you probably are used to doing and getting people to think out of the box, so to speak. So congratulations on that success. Well, let me just jump right in. The JackTrip Foundation has been newly formed, and that is as a result pretty much of the increased interest in using the internet to collaborate on music in real time. And so it is an open website, and if you allow me to share my screen, I'll just jump right into the website that I can show you here. And so there's my, so here's the JackTrip website and JackTrip Foundation website. And as I said, it was formed to take the JackTrip technology and make an effort to have it be very accessible and user-friendly, because JackTrip was originally created by Chris Chafe, the director of the Center for Computer Research in Music and Acoustics, CCRMA, Karma. And, you know, it was meant as a research tool, but now with this expanded interest, people really want to make it more user-friendly so that people can use it without too much problems. So here's the jacktrip.org. And if you scroll down here to this movie, there's Chris and Mike Dickey, our founders. But if you scroll all the way down, there's this this clip from National Public Radio, NPR, And are you all hearing me okay? I didn't check.
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, okay. Whew.
Yep,
Scared me
absolutely.
there.
Thank you.
Had y'all captivated.
Just slight latency, that's all.
Okay, all right then. Of course. So you can go to the jacktrip.org and watch this movie. It will explain a lot about using the internet to collaborate and so forth, and a little bit about JackTrip. I won't share that with you right this minute, but I'll go back up here to these tabs here. And if you go over to the technology page, you're going to get a lot more detail about why is latency important. You know, you can scroll through here and read about the different aspects of it, what a hub server would look like, what a client peer-to-peer server would look like, connections would look like, where everybody's connected to everybody else. These are different computers, you know, in different locations. And so that would be peer-to-peer, whereas the hub and spoke, there's just the one server with different people connecting to the same machine. And I'll go over that a little bit more, but let me go over here and explain to you just a little bit about the choices that you have to connect to. Let's see, let's see, go here, and then I'm gonna go down here and make this full screen. There we go. And then I made it a little too big. So with JackTrip technology, you would have a server protocol that you would decide on. And this would either be, as I was showing you earlier, you could run a private server in hub mode. So that would be at your location, at someone's location. On site, you could run that in hub mode where many people are connected to one server, or you could run that in P2P, the peer-to-peer, where everybody's connected to everybody else. The point is that it would start with the server aspect and choice. You would also have a choice of using a remote server. So this is off-site. This would again be many plugged into one server, and that would be like our JackTrip web server, AWS, which is the Amazon Web Service, or something called Linode. And then as a client, you would decide if you wanted to have what's called our virtual studio. This is a Raspberry Pi device with JackTrip preloaded, and it's more of a plug and play choice that you can use. The total cost for this setup here is around $200. So it does not use a computer. It just uses this standalone device, and I'll show you that more in a minute. You also have these computer-based choices to make as connecting to a server and other people that you want to play with. And then you would decide, do you have a Mac, Windows, or Linux machine? And then you would install these three things as just the bare minimum: the Jack audio connection kit, the Audio for All, and the graphical user interface, which is called JackTrip. And then a third choice would be if you wanted to connect with a Mac, Windows, or Linux machine installed with Jack, Audio for All, and the command line version of JackTrip. This takes a little bit more tech savvy, and I would encourage people definitely to check out this option if they have some, background in any kind of command line operations. So I wanted to go over here then and show you the JackTrip Virtual Studio. Now, the information for the JackTrip Virtual Studio is going to be on our Help tab over here. And if you click Help, then you would go to our where we store all of our documentation. And then you would click over here on the user guide for the Virtual Studio. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff in here, but basically getting started with the Virtual Studio is going to show you all the different device setup for that standalone device I was talking about. And then if you wanted to go back and look and see how to build your own device, this would not be the virtual studio that we are offering. This would be something that you would build on your own, and then you can look at these this information for the virtual studio. And then let's see, I think, where was I going to go after this? There's the virtual studio. The little menu thingy is getting in my way here. So I want to pull this down. Let's see. Oh, some more about picking a platform for JackTrip is also on this help tab. So then I think I'm going to turn it over to Bonnie right now and let her talk with you more about the servers. And I'll just try to navigate through that information to show you more about that. Bonnie, are you ready?
Yeah, so there are many choices for running servers. The most user-friendly way is to go to jacktrip.org because the interface is just a web interface, like, you know, a site that you would normally go to. And the other options are Linode, AWS, the cloud servers like that. And running your server at home is another option. But then you get into, you know, having to forward ports, having to open up ports for TCP and UDP in your own internet system, which is okay if you're using Comcast, but if you're on AT&T, things can be a little tricky. So it's mostly because of the port forwarding issue that I encourage people to either go to the cloud or to jacktrip.org. And so this is by far the easiest interface. I would ask that, you know, people who have, as Cynthia said, people who have experience with the command line, you know, feel free to check out the cloud servers. But, you know, this is what we have right now for the basic running a server with for hub mode. So as Cynthia navigates,
do you want me to show the?
We want the hub servers.
So you want me to log in to the?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the there are servers that we can that Cynthia can start, and there will be IP addresses that get published once the server properly starts, and that's pretty much exactly the same as if you were to go into or AWS, one of those cloud servers. The difference is that you don't have to go into the command line if you're on jacktrip.org. You don't have to install your own software. Everything is already installed for you. And this is again the server in hub mode, which means you can connect a number of people to that server, a number of clients per server, whereas peer-to-peer is only for 2 people. So in terms of the hub mode configuration, you know, JackTrip itself has been tested for a huge number of clients, for, you know, up to 500 clients in our theoretical, you know, tests. This is just on the software layer without piping in audio, just as a, you know, as a fun test. A hub server can accept up to 500 clients. We could try more. So that's one distinguishing characteristic of our product. And another, so scalability, right. And also wanted to touch upon the other aspect of JackTrip, which is relatively low latency. Cynthia, are we looking at?
Yeah, my password's wrong. So just go ahead and I was going to actually play this demo from the Regazi, or not the Regazi, but this group. And it's just a 1-minute video if people want to. What I wanted to say is that when you play stuff over Zoom, the audio is going to be compressed. And so you won't get the true JackTrip audio quality of it being uncompressed, but you will be able to hear how these guys sing over Zoom and then how they sing with JackTrip and experience the latency that they're hearing. Is that something that is of interest?
Yes, please share that. That sounds
Okay,
great.
there you go. I'll look for my password. Oh, this is not playing the audio. Okay. Well, sorry about that. I'm not able to get my audio through for some reason, but
no
for the
worries.
most part, you can hear them singing, and it's really off with Zoom. And I'm sure that most of you have already experienced trying to sing over Zoom. It's just not. The latency is too much. But
was the link, Cynthia, for that video on the website at jacktrip.org? Is that where we would find that?
Yeah, so Cynthia, if you share as you screen share, there is an option at the bottom left of the Zoom screen share. When you select you want to share your desktop, there's also a bottom left option, share computer sound.
Oh, okay. So let's see here. Bottom left.
It's before you make your selection of the screen that you want to share.
Yeah, as you are trying to decide if you're going to share your application or your desktop, that huge screen, at the bottom left of that screen, there's the option to share computer sound.
And there's a second thing you want to click also that says optimize video clip. There's 2 checkboxes. You want to check them both.
Computer screen before I share. Oh, I get it. Got it. Oh, there it is.
Both of them. Check both of them.
Got it. Got it. All right. Now. All right.
And I think we lost your mic. You're a little quiet, Cynthia, too.
Okay, well, technical difficulties. Are you still there? No?
Yes,
Yeah,
we're all still here. Yeah.
Oh,
We're
okay.
here. You just can't
Yeah.
talk and you just can't talk and share your computer audio at the same time.
We could hear it just now.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, you
yes.
could hear it.
Yeah.
Okay,
We heard your computer audio.
Oh, okay, I couldn't hear it. Isn't that weird? Okay, so I'll just go back here and come back when it's done. Okay, so you heard that, all right?
Wow. Wow. I mean, the difference is stunning. That was
It is,
fantastic.
it
Holy
is,
moly.
it is stunning. And, you know, people cry the first time they connect
Oh,
because
good
they
Lord.
haven't,
I can imagine they would have. Oh, goodness.
because they don't, they haven't sang with someone for a really long time, and then they connect, and it's just, it's a fantastic experience. And anyone can make an account on that jacktrip.org. So you can make an account, you can get into the documentation, read about the different platforms that you have at your, I'm sorry I couldn't log in and show you the servers, but there you can also get an account to start a server too. So, and that's at app.jacktrip.org. AP.
Yeah. Just wanted to add, yeah, the one dimension of this is JackTrip has been used for a long time, even before, you know, this pandemic, for just for connecting over long distances. So just the idea that we can connect, you know, over the ocean, and there's been some projects done between, you know, the US and Colombia. So one of the things that's coming up is that we are going to organize a New Year's Eve party where we all try to connect. We'll provide servers for you all to connect to, and every hour on the hour you can connect from anywhere in the world. And yeah,
Wow.
it's one huge party, and you know, bring your whatever you want to sing.
Yeah. I see there's lots of questions. JackTrip is completely free, by the way, the program itself. It's free and open source. And so, you know, if you're a programmer and you have ideas, you can join the JackTrip community on GitHub and, you know, do pull requests. And Bonnie does these all the time, and has many contributions to the JackTrip program.
Right. So the meetings that we posted at Karma IETF, there's a series of meetings about JackTrip, and they are a little bit on the technical side, but it's important, you know, for instance, we're talking about building out a mixer feature within JackTrip. You know, if you want to tune up and tune down various people's voices, what's that going to look like? So that's what we're going to talk about at our next meeting. And there are things like, if you are into digital music at all, you will use something called Jack. And that is a layer behind JackTrip, a dependency, and what's happening with that. If you want to come and talk about it, and if you want to build on it, if you want to find out the latest, you know, they also just released the latest, another version that's sort of a beta installer now. And so if you just want to, you know, poke your head in for technical reasons, to learn how to use it, or to hear about our next New Year's concert, you know, join us. Come early if you have questions, and then after the meeting, usually we delve into more difficult technical discussions.
Yeah. And I also want to point out too that this is really bleeding edge technology. This is the top of the heap, along with another program called SoundJack. These are the lowest latencies, highest quality, uncompressed audio over internet that you can get. Now, the most inexpensive way is not the most accessible way. The most inexpensive way is to already have your computer. Maybe you're a digital musician and you already have an external audio interface. Maybe you have some bit of tech skills, maybe just a little bit, but these are existing tools that you already have. The program is free. You can pretty much get rolling fairly quickly. The Raspberry Pi device is the device that's going to be an extra thing that people maybe don't have that they would need, but it's the most accessible way. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there, but I do want to stress that this is the technology that is allowing the low latency and uncompressed audio over the internet. The next best thing would be get in your car and drive to a location that has hot rods and harmony, baby.
All right. Well, wow. I'm just going to pick up on the questions here in the chat. So Tiffany had asked, as that recording was playing, was that using the cloud platform or the physical hub?
That was using Raspberry Pi devices connected to a cloud server.
Got it. Got it. Thank you. And then another question in here, you had already, somebody else, Brandy had asked if JackTrip had a free trial, and you already spoke to the fact that JackTrip is a free open source program, which is just really generous and very outstanding. And then Don asks, it sounds like a 40-person choir without a lot of technical wizardry would need to spend $8,000 to do this. Like $200 a person. So how do we bring that down to a manageable budget? So I'm just reading his whole question. So
yeah,
it sounds like a 40-person choir without a lot of technical wizardry would need to spend $8,000 to do this, which breaks down to about $200 a person. So that sounds like a lot. And so what would you recommend, or how would you recommend we bring this down to a manageable budget?
I think Cynthia has already answered this question, because
okay,
it doesn't really cost anything if you, for people who are conversant with the command line to connect to a server from a computer.
Got it.
Well, he's saying if you're not technically savvy. And you have a good point, Don. I mean, this is, like I said, bleeding edge technology. People don't already have Raspberry Pi devices, so there's that purchase that needs to be made. A more inexpensive possibly would be to build your own Raspberry device. And there are instructions on the website, the JackTrip.org, for people to build their own devices. It's still going to be close because JackTrip.org is a nonprofit organization and we're not making money off these devices. So it's pretty close, I think, to cost.
From a technical standpoint, actually, it's, you know, having used both computers and Raspberry Pis, I want to remind folks that Raspberry Pis are computers, and they can actually be more difficult to set up than your MacBook Pro or your Windows machine, because they use Linux. They use the Raspberry Pi OS, which is based on Debian. And for people who are not familiar with Linux at all, I think that Linux would actually be the last thing to try.
Well, they're pre-configured though when they.
If you purchase the device, it's pre-configured.
Right.
But if you have if you have to upload your own image, you know, that's a lot of work that I think is worse than connecting directly using your own computer.
It is.
And then for folks who do want to purchase a Raspberry Pi, this question actually is my own question, because my 15-year-old son has like 3 Raspberry Pi devices.
Yes.
He's super into it.
Does he want to volunteer?
So he oh my gosh, I'm sure that he would. He'll be so fascinated. He's a freshman in high school, and he's a singer, and he's joined the a cappella chorus and the other choirs that are available to him as a new high school student. But he's also, like I said, he's been tinkering with Raspberry Pi devices for years.
Well, one of the things is, of course, to identify people in your group who have these kinds of skills and the desire to you know, facilitate others is really important.
Gosh, absolutely. So I guess my question for anybody who is a part of this right now, or anybody who listens to this after, once this is edited and it's on our YouTube channel, what is there, like a baseline Raspberry Pi? Because I know there's different levels or different types of devices with different technical capabilities. Like if you could put in the chat, or if you could speak to what Raspberry Pi device is like the best kind to consider purchasing.
They do have some suggestions on the website, but maybe Bonnie
Okay.
can speak to what, because I know Mike Dickey had some, he's one of our founders, and he had some experience where he bought a lower end Raspberry Pi that didn't
Okay.
really do what he wanted to do, so he bought a higher end one and he was happy with it.
So for the hi-fi, the best audio quality is the hi-fi Berry. And I also want to add that it depends on whether or not, if you're just running a client, which means if you're connecting to a server elsewhere, then you want something like a hi-fi Berry. But if you are actually thinking of running a JackTrip server on your own, using your Raspberry Pi as a server, that's also a possibility. You know, so there's many configurations, but you know, just like for simplicity, I would go to jacktrip.org, and as a client, I would recommend Hi-Fi Berry, but there's more detailed recommendations there.
And you can
Okay.
drop it. You can drop a help ticket in jacktrip.org when you sign up on the help thing. You just go up to the right corner and sign in, and then it'll say new to JackTrip, and you make an account, and you can actually drop a help ticket in there.
If I could just say, you know, I can see that you guys are really pushing the envelope on this, and it's hard to be pushing the envelope and thinking about lots of people using it once, because they're two very different needs.
Right.
You know, when I think about, you know, we have, my chorus has 1 foot in Cal and 1 foot in the barbershop world. And the barbershop world, you're talking about, you know, between barbershop and Sweet Adeline, over 100,000 singers, right?
Sure.
But these people kind of have just figured out how to use Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Right.
now the good news is that we've found that they're willing to pay $50 or $60 for a mic and headphones set up and do that to get in
They're
their car and do
halfway
that.
there.
So, right, exactly. So people will spend some money, but it's also the ability to basically say, look, we have one person, or access to one person who's fairly technical, and that person will show you how to download this, click on this,
Yeah.
and then you're okay. And have that person not tear their hair out trying to do it. They'll end up looking like me,
Yeah.
right? So it's got to be able to be done in a reasonable amount of time for a reasonable amount of money. So
Okay.
realistically, as you're looking at the you know, the technology adoption and capability here, at what point does this get to available to the masses, do you think, where a choir would be able to do this? And I'm also thinking about a school choir, right? You got a 50-person school
This is
choir,
an
and the teacher
open source
says, I want to do this.
project. Yeah.
The developers are
timeline
working
for-
feverishly.
Yeah, I mean, I myself am working on an OS 6 installer for the
Yes.
last version that was released. You know,
Yeah,
a couple
they're working like night and day to try to make it more accessible, to try to increase the number of people who can connect at the same time. And also, I think it's really important to note that people's mindsets will change with the desire to want to sing together. They will become more perhaps open to the technology, open to learning. There's no longer, plug and play is not going to work in this particular case. The technology you'll get better at it. You'll understand it more. You'll be able to do it more easily because you'll learn. But learning how it works is a really important part. Go ahead, Bonnie. I just had to get on my soapbox for a minute.
I am pasting in Aaron. So one of our key contributors has developed a GUI, which has
Oh, I forgot about the GUI. That's right.
in terms of bringing this technology to the masses. So I have pasted in this experimental GUI. I will say that because it's experimental, one of the
I'll
problems
show it to you.
it has is that if you leave it in the background, it will start making robot noises. So you have to leave it running in the foreground.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I hear it's working fairly well. So if you'd like to become one of our you know, experimental beta users, feel free to use this, what's on this page that I just pasted in.
So here's the JackTrip GUI. And it's black. That's so weird. Nothing's working for me today. What's up with that? Oh, there it is. Okay. So one of the things with JackTrip is its nickname is fast music because it travels fast. But the procedures are sometimes a little bit slow. So here's the JackTrip GUI. I'm going to keep it small. And here you would have, you can still hear me, right? Here you would have your server, client, hub server, hub client. Choose one of those. Say as a client, this is where you're going to type in your server's IP address. Your IP address is going to be available here. And then you've got some advanced options. You've got what an experimental fix here for fixing dropouts in the audio, and you've got some plugins to be able to connect. I could connect with Bonnie right now, and you know, would show you that, but I'm not sure my my audio is going to work. I haven't had very good luck today with my audio. So that's a GUI in place of having to do the command line operations that I was telling you about, so that, you know, it's much more click here, click there, and then it does its connection. So,
All right.
were there more questions?
Well, and I'll just add in, you know, whether it's questions for JackTrip or it's questions for Somerset Hills or for the Tar Heel Voices for Nick and Maria. Well, what other questions does anybody have? And if you don't, absolutely okay as well. And I'm not seeing anything pop up here. So I'm going to go ahead and just wrap this all up by saying a big thank you to Bonnie and Cynthia from JackTrip. Thank you both for all of your technical expertise. Fantastic. Don, thank you for all of your technical expertise with how you have been able to run rehearsals with Somerset Hills. And of course, to Nick and Maria for your fantastic engagement and innovation with keeping college a cappella alive and well on the UNC campus. I think everything that all of you are doing for your groups are certainly innovations that can be truly, truly helpful to folks who tune in and view this video later on. So thank you to everybody